Good evening. Today we will talk about a bear film production with Alexandr Stemp, a British traveler, journalist writer and occasional scriptwriter. Hello, Alexandr.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
You're a well-known British scriptwriter. Yes, and how did it happen that you live in Budapest now?
Thank you very much. To be a well-known scriptwriter has always been a great honour, which I aspire to. I live in Budapest. I have a Hungarian wife called Esther, and circumstances meant that I moved to Budapest to live with her, and I got married and 3 children, so I simply uprooted from England and took the move to Budapest, and not so far away is Transcarpathia.
So you're happy now, yeah?
Yeah, I'm arrived.
Okay, why did you decide to visit Transcarpathia?
That's quite a long story. A bit more than 10 years ago, before I had children, I made the point of bicycling to all the neighbouring countries from Hungary, all of them. And I did this, and except for Ukraine, because at that time you needed a visa. But when Ukraine won the Eurovision Song Contest, Ruslana, when she won, then to promote tourism, the Ukraine government abolished visas for EU travellers. So with that in mind, I then thought, right, okay, now to complete the magic circle, all the country around Hungary, I have to come here. And then from there, I basically just took a chance. I came here, I knew nothing, really I knew nothing. Information in English was limited. At least I couldn't find any particular information about travelling in this region in English. There might have been there, but it didn't appear to me then. So I had to sort of make my own way around here. So I bicycled here several times, but I cycled from Chop to Sinaveri almost in one go at one point, and liked it very much, and I really enjoyed it.
And where have you been beyond Transcarpathia?
Not too far beyond. In Ukraine itself, Kiev, Odessa, Lviv, and then sort of Mount Hovola, I've been there, and then I've probably been about 20 places within this region.
Anyway beyond Ukraine?
Eastwards, no. Northwards, I've been to Northern Europe, Scandinavia, Estonia. I've been around there. South of Ukraine, I've been to the Black Sea, Romania, and then west, sort of Western Europe, France, Germany. So it's most of Europe, but I haven't been anywhere too far beyond that.
And what are your impressions? Of
Transcarpathia.
Of Transcarpathia and
Ukraine.
All of countries that you visited.
Oh, I liked Transcarpathia very, very much. I think you have to be a certain type of person, because before I took to travels and journalism, I was a gardener. I worked at Cambridge University for a while and worked in their gardens. And then, so I've always been an independent kind of person, rather sort of cut off. So independent travel in sort of lesser known places strongly appeals to me. And Transcarpathia, at least 10 years ago, that fit the bill. So, I felt at the time I had the place to myself. Because tourism, especially real outside tourism, was very, very little. So neighbouring people would come here, but not too far much beyond that. So I I thrived in that, and really took to the place. And then the photographs I took were surprisingly good. I got some credit for that. And then with the fact that I had some really good photographs, and before I had children, I decided to write a kind of diary, catalogue book about my impressions and travels in this region, as I wanted to sort of give something to my children. And at the time also there was simply almost no English books or periodicals travel-wise about this region. So I thought, this place has given much to me. I want to give something back. So I thought, if I start writing, then I've given something, that expression, give back to the land, what you can give, so I want to give something back to this wonderful region, which it deserves a spotlight. It deserves, because the history and the politics of these places and sort of most of Central Europe is not particularly inspiring reading. In England, 20th century's politics was fairly good for us, but in Central Europe it was not. So only aspiring, I wanted to go beyond aspiring away from the politics and the history. And like I said, I came here and knew nothing. And that might have been an advantage, because the fact that I came here and knew nothing, I could see it from a geographical perspective, you know. But then when I started to meet people, then, you know, sort of came up with the local scene, then the sort of the history and the politics then came into place. So I then sort of balanced what I like is the geography and the environment. That's being a landscape gardener. That's what I thrive on the most. And then everything else sort of also fitted in. So I didn't want to be the naive traveller abroad, but at the same time, I couldn't be so closely involved, you know, with all the sort of the unpleasantness of the history and the politics, as it were. So I sort of found a writing balance between the two, and I composed this little book, and it got published at around when the children were born, and I sort of dedicated the book to them. So what I'm hoping, this book is a bit out of date, but the photographs are still the same. It's my gift to them, and hopefully in 20 years' time, they can work on it and improve it into a better book, into a more updated book. And now there's plenty of information about travel in Transcarpathia. There's all sorts of websites and Facebook and all sorts of things have really opened up. So finding information about hotels, restaurants, is far easier than what it was 10 years ago.
So a few days ago, all national media were talking about your new mini film about Transcarpathia. Tell us about it.
The Bears. Oh, well, that was a real pleasure. Well, last summer I was engaged and contacted by someone called Michael Dankanich, who lives in Uzgrod, and asked me to take part in this Bears film at the Sinaveri region. Near to the lake, and I immediately said yes, because I wanted to do something with bears, and I wanted to do something, and I waited for a long, but finally it came. So I said, without any thought, yes, I'll do it, no questions asked. So I said, I had to write a script, and then I met with him here, and then him and a cameraman and Michael, three of us drove off to the Sinaveri, this bear sanctuary, and we spent the whole day. It was summer, it was last August. And we made this. It took one complete full day, lots of cuts, sort of go back, follow through, and then of course we had to. It was a 1 day taking for a 10-minute film.
And why Sinaveri?
Why is it, the Sinaveri? Well, I think Sinaveri works. I mean, the Sinaveri Lake is probably the most famous tourist destination. So, from a sort of marketing point of view, that works. And also very much in the favour was the fact that the bear sanctuary was right next door to it, about 10 kilometres away. So combine those two together were real assets. It was an asset to have that in one place.
What was interested you in Transcarpathia as a location for a film?
I think Transcarpathia has much to offer. Sort of the wilderness. The rich variety of wilderness and sort of the off the beaten track and so away from it all, and you can really have your own space and really sort of take in sort of the beauty and the nature, and really get close to it. And I sense that here more than anywhere else I've been to throughout my life, I'm sort of closer to it here than anywhere else.
And how was the process of filming this bear film?
It was fun, extremely challenging. It was different to studio television because you had to abide and adapt to the conditions. Weather-wise, it was sort of light, sunny, cloudy, but at the same time we had to work with the weather. Sort of adapt. The sort of the focus of the camera and just the circumstances. And then, of course, the bears had to cooperate too. At certain times, the bears would follow and sort of be with us, as it were, and that made the work lighter and easier. But when the bear ran off, then we had to sort of stop the whole production, sort of follow the bear, you know what I mean, and then sort of re-pick up and redo it again. So it was. We were on site all day. It was a big thing. Lots of sort of cuts, recuts. Start again. It was a big process.
So we were very tired, yes?
At the end, we were. Yeah. At the end, we kind of sort of, Yeah, lovely though it was, but I think sort of repeating the same things over and over again, and just a bit burnt out. Yeah, at the end, but it was fine. And then, of course, the editing team. After making that film, I then went back to Budapest. But then the editing team has to chop and change so much. That must have been a huge job as well.
And what is the main idea of the film?
The film is really for tourism, outside tourism. So the neighbours, Transcarpathian neighbours, so plenty of those people can come here, but the real outside market, so the English-speaking tourist market. So we're trying to, when that film was made, we then, I travelled to Germany, and I also contacted one or two people in Cambridge and to try and put this film, get their attention with this film, and in Austria as well. So it's just somewhere central or western EU. So that's what we want to try and do. So that's where the real outside market, and anywhere that's in English speaking, or anyone has an English interest.
So tell us about funny moments during the process of film.
Funny moments. There were many other tongue twisters. When you're speaking and you're trying to look intelligent and clever, and but then somehow you have a sort of mental block somewhere, and your tongue gets a bit caught up and twisted. Then you say something a bit foolish and frivolous, and then have to cut, start again, redo. I think the funny moments were sort of with the bears, because at one point this bear did follow us, and I was throwing berries. I found this berry bush nearby, and I was throwing berries at this bear, and the bear sort of followed us and sort of became a friend of ours. And so that was awesome. That was, because bears are usually quite shy, reserved creatures, and these bears have had a hard time. These were abused bears who have sort of had a really difficult time. So it was remarkable that this bear sort of took to us. Because any bear the media often pushed the line that bears are fierce. Well, yes, sure, but I think anyone is fierce. I think you would be fierce if I took you out of your enclosure and put you somewhere else where you didn't want to be. You would be fierce, quite naturally. You know what I mean? So, bears are best when they are sort of, at a distance, left them reserved to do their thing, and then they're all right. But it's this kind of stereotypical thing that they are fierce, and it's they don't have to be fierce. It's like domestic dogs and cats. If you start pushing them around, they will be fierce, quite naturally. But if you learn how to deal with them and live with them, then they're all right. So same with any creatures, same with people. So this is a kind of stereotype we're trying to sort of disembowel with this film. It might not have come across because it's supposed to be a tourist film. It's not supposed to be about sort of bears chasing after people, otherwise the tourists won't come. So you can see the point that you can see the bears in an enclosure, and the tourists can come and they will be safe. No bear's going to chase after tourists and their sandwiches. And if you do have a sandwich or a pizza, then put it in a safe place, not in the dustbin where it's going to smell. And then this bear or foxes or flies will naturally come along and investigate this pizza in the dustbin and then cause problems. But if you have a sandwich that you don't want, and somewhere like Cineveri, you put it carefully away to prevent the smell and the aroma from getting unwanted attention, especially in the summer when there's mosquitoes around and all sorts of things. So I think animals and humans have to work much harder accepting and living with each other. And taking bears out of their enclosures and sort of putting them into a cage in a restaurant or in hotels for sort of sake of tourism, consumer pleasure is really seriously wrong. The bears deserve much better than that.
And what language did you use to communicate with people here in Transcarpattia?
English.
Only English?
I'm sorry. I confess. Only English. I'm sorry. My language skills are not that great. My Hungarian is quite, I can communicate in broken Hungarian. And the thought of having to take on a third language is just a bit too bewildering. So I communicate in English. But sometimes I don't need to communicate.
And how they understand you?
Well, when we're not communicating, well, my needs are really quite simple. I I eat, I drink, I sleep, I travel. I don't need that much. beyond that point. You know, I think when you go to the cities, you know, Kiev, then you need some more attention. But beyond that point, because I've always, you know, I've been a sort of landscape gardener, I'm very used to my own way of doing things. So I'm a very independent person. I can be cut off at periods of time, hence the bicycle rides around Zakarpаттya for days on end and not communicate with anyone at all. Some people like that, some, you know, but I don't recommend it to everyone. Some people would not like that at all, you know. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us please about your another project.
Other projects, well, other projects consist of working for sort of current affairs magazines, the Budapest Times, the Lviv Today English newspaper. I've written articles for them. And the subject matter is fairly broad. If it relates to anything else, Ukraine, Hungarian, you know, it goes in. So I've written about travels here in the newspapers, in the English newspapers, and yeah, it's sold.
And where do you find inspiration, and how you decided to be a scriptwriter?
All right, okay, well this is quite a long story, because after I did my kind of geographical tour, my geographical kind of notes and diaries, and all of a sudden it sort of came to a stop, like stopped. And I thought, well, I like it here, I want to continue here, but I thought if I am going to continue returning here, I need to find new projects to work on. And a lot of local people, because I spent much time at Uzgrod, a lot of people at Uzgrod sort of told me that they sort of liked English humour and Agatha Christie and certain things like that. And I thought, okay, fine, yeah, well, I like it as well. But what am I going to do next? I was very uncertain. And then I went to Palanok Castle by myself, this exhibition. And I don't know if you're familiar with Pink Panther films, they're comedy films, but sort of English 1970s films. But for some reason, I associated Palanok Castle with this. I don't know why, but I just did. And there's this art exhibition going on. And then I had this idea about, supposing if a picture got, you know, as a kind of comedy, thriller, drama, supposing a picture here got stolen and smuggled across the border, and went to, you know, Budapest, Paris, Cambridge. How interesting and exciting would that be, for the sake of sort of some kind of, you know, it's not that I want to write about a crime story as such. It's not because I thrive in crime. I don't. It's the what and the reason why people behave in such a way. So stealing a painting from an exhibition hall might be a moment of madness, but the story is the sort of psychological perspective. It's like the what and the reason why. And this story is called A Promenade in a Promenade in Munkaci. There's a famous artist, Munkaci Mihai. A lot of inspiration came from him. And it's about these rather eccentric people from England. You've got this working class Cambridge graduate. So that's a kind of like miracle in itself. You've got the sort of the middle-aged, middle-class kind of hippie lady, and then you've got this champagne socialist who, you know, privileged, but he's sort of, you know, almost like Karl Marx. These three contradicting kind of people clashing together, but yet they somehow, and you get people like that, and they travel together. Well, they don't necessarily travel together, but they are involved with this painting which disappears from Palanok Castle and finds its way. But it returns again, and it has a happy ending. But it's kind of Agatha Christie. I'm inspired by Agatha Christie, and I'm inspired by comedy. So it's a sort of element of both. And it's a bit of a gamble, because I'm sort of yet to sell it. I want to sell it, and some people have liked it, and some people have read it, and it has had some approval. Nobody looks stupid. A lot of people say to me, you know, I hope you're not going to make us look stupid or anything. So nobody looks, I don't like stereotypes. I don't like repeat cliches. It's a safe bet, and it's sort of entertainment. I'm not expecting it to be like a classic, but you know, it could be. You know, it could be. It had, when I finished writing it, which took 1 year to write. After reading, I thought this might not be such a good book, but it could be a good film. So now it's my idea. I've got to try and find people who might be interested in this, and then we can sort of, you know, do something with it. It's kind of cultural as well, and artistic. Hence Munkaci Mihai.
And how are your impressions from Palanok?
Oh, I love Palanok Castle. It's great. It's a great place. It's a great place. Yes, the impressions are, yeah, well, it was the pinnacle of the story. If I hadn't have gone there, I would not have written anything. And I've written an 80,000 word story at centres on Palanok Castle. So that was the absolute main focal point of the story. And then from a more sort of travelled, I'll do a travel article about Palanok Castle when I get back, in the next few days.
Okay, and what are your plans for future?
Work on this script if somebody likes it. Really, that is the case. I want to sell the script, I want to market it and find interested people. It might take a bit of time. I'm still sort of quite an unknown. I'm yet to sort of work on, I'm sort of known with magazine articles. That's fine, but the next stage up, I have to sort of go a bit beyond that and sort of, film script writing is a whole different matter now. It's the next one up from that. So I'm now working on that. That is a project in itself. And then I'm hoping to sell this to whoever might be interested. So I'm hoping to go to Kiev in June and meet with people there.
Are you traveling with your family?
No, not really, no. Often by myself.
And why?
Why? Well, sometimes Esther, my wife, goes westwards. She's a lawyer, so she might find herself in London, Brussels, Paris or something on a sort of convention there. And then I might find the excuse to come here. But my children have been here. I'm hoping to bring them all here at some point.
And what have they visited?
Just Uzhgorod. Judy and Susie, my two daughters, aged 10 and 8. They were on the Dobry Ranok breakfast show last year. And I'll be bringing them again sometime in the summer.
So are you writing a script about Mukachevo and Uzhgorod?
Yeah.
And what is the idea of this script?
Well, I'm just working with all my ingredients because I think no matter what you're writing about, you need an air of intimacy. You need to be intimate with what you're doing. And I'm fairly intimate with this region. It would be more difficult to write about Transylvania. Now, I've been to Transylvania, but I'm not so closely involved with it. So writing about it would be rather vague. So I know the ins and outs. I know Uzhgorod intimately well. So that works. That works. And same with people and characters. I'm using all my ingredients. That's the best thing to do. It's not enough to know that you sort of, I know something about Transcarpathia. Otherwise, if you're trying to convince people that you're writing about something you're not really too sure about, it's not very convincing. It's not good journalism. It doesn't sell well. It's not convincing enough. You've got to write something with conviction.
What could you wish our viewers?
What do I wish your viewers? Well, I wish you all very well with all endeavours. I think Transcarpathia has a sort of great potential, sort of tourism, and it has much to offer. The spotlight is sort of yet to come. I feel that. But for anyone who likes a bit sort of challenging sort of travel, everything's provided here. There are hotels, there are restaurants, all the comforts are here. So there's no reason why you should not come here and enjoy yourself from a sort of tourist kind of perspective. But the spotlight is really yet to come, the sort of marketing campaign, all those things sort of.
A lot of thanks for this interesting and informative interview. We hope that very soon you will get an Oscar.
Oh, well, if I do, I will always remember you at Cirrus TV, and you've got to start somewhere. So sort of baby steps, humble beginning. Oscar, somewhere.
And that was all for today. See you next week. Goodbye.